applying their styles to create original works of art. I am a teacher, analyzing 500,000 player moves every game to identify strengths and weaknesses. And a learner, discovering new strategies from complex games. I am even the composer of the music you're hearing. I am AI, brought to life by Nvidia, deep learning, and brilliant minds everywhere.
Please welcome Nvidia Founder and CEO Jason Huang，请欢迎 Nvidia 创办人兼执行长黄仁勋先生。
大家欢迎 Welcome to Nvidia Computex. I have quite a few things I want to share with you today, so let's get started. Our industry is experiencing two very powerful forces right now. In fact, over the last 30 years, we've benefited from what is called Moore's Law, where semiconductor process technology continued to advance, and we got more than 50% transistors every single year. Meanwhile, microprocessor architecture continued to advance, taking advantage of those 50% more transistors every single year, so that the performance continued to increase at what is now called Moore's Law. Unfortunately, those two dynamics have come to an end. Semiconductor physics is now limiting the ability for us to scale the transistors without increasing power. It's called Dennard Scaling. Dennard Scaling says basically that we can increase the number of transistors running at a higher frequency. However, by reducing the geometry, shrinking the size, therefore shrinking its capacitance, and lowering the voltage, we can keep the power density constant. However, we're starting to enjoy sub-threshold leakage, and semiconductor physics prevents us from scaling with Dennard Scaling any further. On the other hand, microprocessors can no longer seek and discover instruction-level parallelism. What used to be an architectural advance every single generation, increasing the size of the pipelines, using superscalar, branch prediction, speculative execution, all of those techniques now adds far more than 50% of transistors at much less than 50% increase in performance, and therefore the combination of those two effects has caused microprocessors to no longer scale at the performance levels they used to, the end of what people call Moore's Law. At the same time, however, another force is emerging in the industry: deep learning. Several years ago, computer scientists were able to utilize a new architecture, a new algorithm called deep learning, allow it to study an enormous amount of data, and using the processing power of our GPU, the deep learning revolution was started. I'm going to come back to this in just a second. But in both cases, GPU was at the center of that. The GPU is going to allow us to continue to scale process technology and continue to scale performance and give us life after Moore's Law. On the other hand, the GPU is central to the enabling of deep learning. The GPU is quite a unique architecture that we created quite a long time ago. And 10 years ago, we invented CUDA. CUDA is a computing approach that observes that the CPU is really good at what CPU does, and the GPU is good at what GPU does. And if we can allow the two processors to work together, we can achieve speed-ups that are, if you will, unreasonable unreasonable and, in fact, quite dramatic. By applying those transistors to parallel processing, we demonstrated quite successful scale-up as we continue to increase and enjoy more and more transistors. And so if you take a look at this chart, the blue line is single-threaded performance, otherwise known as microprocessor performance, which in the earlier years enjoyed 50% increase per year, but it has slowed down to just 10% per year. The amazing thing is this: if we can continue to scale at 50% per year, made possible by GPU computing, by the end of 2025, we would enjoy 1,000 times difference in computing performance. 1,000 times difference in computing performance. One way to think about that is this: all of the computers in the cloud today represents about 20 exaflops. 20 billion operations per second. 20 billion operations per second. That allows us basically to run the entire world's cloud computing. If we were to scale that by only 10% per year, in 2025, the difference would be 20 exaflops versus 2,000 exaflops. 20,000 exaflops. The difference is so enormous, the difference is absolutely so enormous that we simply can't afford not to find a solution, which is one of the reasons why everybody is jumping on top of GPU computing. Now this approach requires us to add another processor to the microprocessor, but it also consists of software in multiple stacks. New algorithms, new solvers, working closely with application developers. Nvidia closely collaborates with application developers all over the world, and so by together, we can speed up applications unreasonably high. And the results have been spectacular. If you take a look at what we've seen, over the course of the last 10 years, here I'm showing you molecular dynamics, but it could be in medical imaging, it could be in seismic processing, it could be in quantum mechanics, computational biology. Fields after fields after fields, we've been able to discover enormous speed up over the last several years. So this is 2013 on top of our Kepler, and then 2015 on top of K80, and 2016 on top of P100, the Pascal architecture. And each one of the generations, you see Amber 12 was modified for K20, and CUDA 4 was released. And each and every generation, we introduced a new GPU, new solvers, and the applications were also optimized. And as a result, we were able to see quite dramatic results in speedups. This is deep learning. Deep learning in 2014 on Keplers was able to achieve about 900 images per second. 900 images per second is the rate at which we were training the GoogleNet. And in 2017, we were able to achieve almost 10,000. The speed up is 10 times in literally 3 years. In 3 generations, we were able to speed up the processing by 10 times. That's a level of speed up that one would never expect from Moore's Law, and yet with this new computing approach called GPU computing, where we add a new processor, create new algorithms, improve servers, solvers, and work with application developers, we're able to achieve unbelievable speedups. After 10 years of promoting this computing approach, we're now starting to see exponential adoption all over the world. We just had a GTC conference just a few weeks ago, and 7,000 people came. 7,000 scientists from all over the world came to GTC in Santa Clara. 15 of the world's top 15 technology companies had computer scientists present. 10 of the world's top 10 car companies had researchers present. And you can just see the growth that we're seeing now in all the industries. Developers of CUDA has now reached 500,000 developers, an increase of 10 times over the last 5 years. Because of the work that we did in deep learning, it has started an AI revolution, and you can see it with the startups. Over the course of the last just 4 or 5 years, we've seen an increase in number of AI startups to 10 times as much investment as before, $5 billion. The growth of deep learning enabled by GPUs has resulted in what is now called the AI revolution. At the core of all of this, and what makes all of this possible, of course, is the work that we do in computer graphics. The GPU, to this day, has a technology driver like no one has ever seen. We observed this almost a quarter century ago. When I started the company 24 years ago with my friends, we observed that computer graphics was going to be a technology that would take decades and decades to address, decades and decades to solve. And that because the volume is so high, the world's gamers and the world's people who would enjoy computer graphics was going to be so high, it would allow us to drive the technology like no other technology fields. Our endeavor to achieve virtual reality has made all of this possible. And so it seems very sensible for us to create, if you will, the most important virtual reality environment the world's ever seen, and we call it the holodeck. As you know, the holodeck allows us to experience anything we like, to create anything we like, to share with anybody we'd like. It is photorealistic. It obeys the laws of physics. It can be shared by people all over the world. You could invite people in. You could, of course, have artificial intelligence agents in there as well. The holodeck, as we've all seen in Star Trek, is quite a place to be. And so we challenged ourselves to create the modern version of the holodeck. And ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to show it to you today. This is the holodeck, Project Holodeck. It's photoreal. It obeys the laws of physics. It is infused with artificial intelligence and allows us to be networked from all over the world. And so why don't we just go in and let's go into the holodeck. Now, hang on a second. Don't say anything, Sean. Are you guys in there? They are in virtual reality, first of all. We have Sean, we have Searching, and Kyle. Searching, which one are you?
I'm here.
And Sean, which one are you?
Hey Jensen, hey guys.
And Kyle?
Hello Jensen.
Okay, you guys look good. And so what you're looking, all of this is done. They're enjoying virtual reality on the HTC Vive. And we love our collaboration with HTC. They do a great job. The thing that I want to do now is to invite where's Horace? Horace, come on up here. Hey guys, welcome Horace Luke. As you guys know, Horace is the founder, the CEO, and the chief designer of this amazing new smart scooter called Gogoro. Do you guys know Gogoro? All right. They're the cutest thing, the most beautiful design, and very few designers that I know has the ability to revolutionize so many industries. And Horace had the benefit of working in the PC industry, in the gaming industry, the smartphone industry, and now smart transportation, smart mobility industry. And so this is Gogoro. This is a surprise for you too.
Yes.
And so as you know, Gogoro is really, really beautiful. And of course, your team it's really great to have you guys share with us your design. And the guys were able to import your design directly into the holodeck. And so before we ask you a couple of questions, let me show you what we can do in the holodeck. So for example, this is an X-ray bubble. We use an X-ray sphere, and we can basically go into your design and look at all of its parts. Now, one of the things that Horace, could you tell me something? What inspired this design? How did you?
Well, we started the company in 2011 with the big idea of changing how energy is used in cities, and making it smarter, cleaner, etc., etc. And the biggest, if you don't know, the biggest consumption of energy that we use happens to be in transportation, and especially in big cities like Taipei, that we're here today. And so we designed a vehicle that broke all the rules. Had to be very fast, had to be very cool, just like you said, eye-catching, and had to be very versatile, very easy to use. So you see from our vehicle here that every component, because when we started, nobody has ever done anything like what we've done before. So we actually started with from ground zero. Every component, we engineered it, we designed it, we manufactured it.
You know, I want to hear about this engine that you've got. So apparently this engine, let me see if I could say it. Some kind of a aluminum, liquid cooled, something magnet synchronized motor. you gotta just, what is this thing?
Well, when we started, we had a dream to come up with something that would compete with the 125, 150cc class scooter, which is a norm in Asia. But we wanted to do it in something that's smaller package, something that's not this big. When we first went around town to look for people that can help us with the motor, everybody came back with something this big. Great for a car, but not necessary for a scooter, so we had to come up with something brand new. But with something so small, just like your GPU and others, we need a very good and innovative cooling system. So we run water throughout our motor.
No kidding. This is the
vehicle.
world's first liquid-cooled scooter.
Yeah, liquid-cooled scooter.
Now, hey guys, I just want you to see something. Okay, so in order for you to grab something in virtual reality, that world has to obey the laws of physics. Okay, and so don't look left and right. You're making me sick. So, can you do this? Just grab onto the steering wheel. Look at that. Look at all the reflections are all perfect.
Awesome.
So, Sean, is that you?
Yep.
All right. So Sean just grabbed onto the steering wheel, and by grabbing onto the steering wheel, remember, you can only grab something if it obeys the laws of physics. So collision has to be detected. It has to seem physical, and so as a result, he was able to steer the go-go. Now, one of the things that's really amazing is your battery system.
Yes.
Nobody would have thought the right answer was to remove the battery. What a crazy idea, right? It's like replacing the fuel tank everywhere you go. And so we decided we would simulate your battery replacement system in virtual reality. And so tell me about the idea. How did you guys come up with the idea, and how did you figure out, you know, where to place all these exchange systems, and which one of the scooters should go to which one of the fuel stops?
Well, one of the biggest challenges in a place like Taipei is that you don't have any place to park, and nevertheless you have places to charge, right? So to kind of break the paradigm without, what about batteries not included, just like most electronics you buy. So we decided to separate the battery from the vehicle. And so the user buy the vehicle, they purchase the vehicle without the battery, you sign up with a subscription of battery swapping. So in Taipei now, and all over Taiwan, we have about 360 what we call GO stations, which are these battery stations. They're placed at about half a mile between each other, and usually will ride about 100 kilometers or so. And when they're done,
That's about the limit. That's about the limit.
Yeah, about the limit. Depends on how many burgers you ate and how fast you ride. You know, you can get about 100 kilometers. You'll put batteries in, and in 6 seconds, new batteries come out.
I see.
And the magic behind it, and when the team actually said to me, hey, you know, we have a great opportunity to use holodeck. I think that, you know, to demonstrate kind of what synergy there is between Google and Nvidia. Most people don't know. We don't just, you know, put batteries in and then charge it and then usually get the battery out. Behind it is a pretty deep machine learning system, a machine control system that control all 360 stations. That allows us to plan where, when, and how energies are distributed. So if, you know, batteries are not needed during, let's say, a Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we don't charge the battery.
I see.
We just sit idle and wait until the proper time when the city has surplus energy, then we take the energy. But we use computers to plan and also to allocate batteries wherever we need it.
Well, this is a mobile cloud device.
Yes.
This is a state-of-the-art modern consumer electronics product. It's easy to use, has a service that's connected to it, and it's just incredibly sensible. And so it's just terrific. Now, a few days ago, you guys announced something new.
Yeah, we announced the GoPro 2 series, which is an addition to the 1 series. What you see here is the 1 series, which was designed for more like a sports car, something that's more personal. But then we always knew that there was going to be, you know, it takes mass market and it takes a family to change the entire world, right, when it comes to using energy. So we actually designed something that was a little bigger seat, a little bigger trunk, a little more accessible when it comes to affordability. And you know, with 2 of them, we were able to address a much bigger market.
So what is the price of the new one? Generation 2.
Generation 2. Taiwan actually has a very good program. The government is very proactive when it comes to pushing for electric vehicle adoption.
Really? You can get the subsidized?
Yeah, you get subsidized.
Okay.
Just like in California, you get the subsidy for
Alright.
Tesla. So in the vehicle, if after subsidy is as low as I think 1,700 US.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's very affordable. Yeah, and a holodeck is
Everybody gets one for Christmas. Well, what a great achievement! I'm so proud of you. You're a hero of Taiwan, and it's really great to see Taiwanese companies innovate. And
Thank you.
And this is not only state-of-the-art technology, but it's got such a Taiwan sensibility, which I love. You can't imagine somebody in the United States creating a scooter startup, but here in Asia, scooter, you don't want big limos and you don't want big cars. You want small scooters, and we could revolutionize how people enjoy mobility. It's one scooter at a time. So it's really a great story.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, you guys. Good job. All right, I'll talk to you later. So, Project Holodeck. This is a virtual reality shared environment, photorealistic, obeys the laws of physics, and allows us to basically create whatever we like. We imagine that one of these days, we'll actually go into the holodeck, design a product, design the factory that's going to make the product, and design the robots that's going to make the factory that's going to make the products. That future is upon us. And we'll take the blueprint right out of the holodeck and create basically a brand new factory, and what comes out of it are products that we've already simulated, we've already enjoyed, and we've already even simulated the manufacturing. The Project Holodeck. I want to talk about gaming. Taiwan is the hub of Nvidia's GeForce ecosystem. Without Taiwan, several hundred million gamers around the world simply will not be able to enjoy GeForce. It is through the network of partners that we have in Taiwan that we have the benefit of being able to literally reach every single gamer in every single country, wherever they are, basically instantaneously. Our network of partners here are incredible. This is the best Computex we've ever had. This year, we're announcing a brand new lineup of GeForce products that spans add-in cards, virtual reality backpacks, an external graphics accelerator, brand new G-Sync monitors. G-Sync is a technology that we invented that basically allows the monitor to track the output of our GPUs. Most monitors are beating at a constant 120 Hertz. However, with our G-Sync monitors, we're able to literally have the GPUs drive the monitors whenever the frame is complete. And as a result, because the frame rate is changing all the time in most video games, the experience is absolutely silky smooth. This year, we're announcing a brand new series of GeForce G-Sync monitors that's based on HDR. It's just absolutely stunning, it's beautiful. And of course, notebooks. The GPU notebook, the GeForce notebook, this year, you're going to see some 15, some 17, 18 notebooks that are going to be launched. They're all incredibly innovative. One of the things that's really amazing about the notebook is finally, because of Maxwell, which we introduced several years ago, we've reached a level of performance and energy efficiency that made it possible for us to create laptops for gaming. As a result of Maxwell, we saw an instantaneous boost. And it basically says that there are unmet demand and pent-up demand for mobile gaming, mobile PC gaming all over the world. Today, there are some 20 million GeForce notebook users around the world. In fact, just last year, all of our partners sold 10 million GeForce notebooks. That's approximately the size of the Xbox shipments. That basically says that GeForce Notebook PC is essentially a game console. The only difference is that the PC market is growing much faster. The PC market is growing so fast, and all of our partners are enjoying such vibrant success because of several reasons. The first reason is the production production value of video games is increasing every single year. It is now reaching cinematic qualities. The second reason is esports. We used to just enjoy playing a video game. Now we want to win, and we even celebrate the winners as if they're athletes. Esports is enjoyed at a very, very high level. It's one of the fastest growing sports, and we believe that one of these days, in the near future, in fact, esports will be the world's largest singular sport. We also know that developing countries and emerging markets are growing very fast. And although every single country, as they emerge, might not need a game console, they all need a PC. PC is essential to most young people, and by adding a GeForce to it, you turn that PC into a game console. PC gaming all around the emerging markets around the world is still one of the fastest growing segments. And then lastly, mobility. The ability for us to finally be able to make essentially a powerful gaming system in a very tight form factor, sleek form factor, has resulted in really rapid growth. Well, this year, we're going to do something really spectacular. The challenge of building a notebook PC, notebook gaming PC, is actually quite difficult. There's a couple of parameters that you're optimizing for. On the one hand, you would like your notebook to be as sleek and as beautiful as possible. Nobody likes to carry these big machines around. The second thing is you need the performance to be quite good. Now here what I'm showing you is a couple of things. These are basically average thickness or the average height of a notebook over the last several years in the install base. It's kind of average. Many of them are much thicker than that. So the high performance systems can be as high as 50 millimeters. Okay, so we've been improving it year after year, and in fact, because of Maxwell starting in 2014, it was in fact possible for us to actually achieve a level of performance that rivals a game console and that allows us to enjoy high performance games. Well, our goal, and what we like to introduce this year, what we're introducing this year with all of our partners, is really a gigantic breakthrough in what you're able to create. This is what we're going to announce this year. And what we call this is the GeForce GTX Max-Q design. I'm going to explain how we did that in just a second. But let me just help you understand, let me just help you enjoy the amazing breakthrough that we've achieved. This is a high-performance notebook just a couple of years ago. In fact, the vast majority of the installed base kind of looks like this if they were enjoying high-performance gaming. It's about 51 millimeters, it's 10 pounds, and it's based on our best GPU at the time, the GTX 880. What we're announcing at the show are many partners with designs that are approximately of this specification, 18 millimeters, 1/3 the thickness, 18 millimeters, 5 pounds, half the weight, 3 times the performance, and powered by our GTX 1080. Now it's really quite an amazing thing to see. The other one, right? No, the silver is right. Okay, I see. Now I'm fairly strong, but so this is, can you guys see this? This is the difference. This is a high-performance gaming notebook of just a couple of years ago. And this is a high-performance gaming notebook with a GTX 1080. Look how beautiful that is. Can you guys see that? Isn't it unbelievable? Incredible. And the performance, 3 times the performance, half the weight. I could hold this all day. I think I might get injured if I hold this any longer. You gotta keep your abs tight. It's just incredibly beautiful. GTX 1080, the GTX 880. Unbelievable levels of what a huge leap. Now, let me show you what this can do. Thank you. Let me show you what this can do. So this is the Asus ROG Zephyrus. Really a beautiful notebook. It's incredibly thin. Can you guys see that? Okay. All right. And so let me put this in perspective for you. This laptop right here is 60% faster than PlayStation 4 Pro. And it comes with a television. Remember, it's not just a game console. The TV is included. This is an unbelievable thing that's happening. And so I'm not connected to your monitor. I want you guys to see, for the first time, a brand new game called Project Cars 2. And we're gonna get to see it for the very first time. It's really something to behold. And so I'm gonna run it here. And Mark back there, he's going to run it, and we're going to synchronize it for you, okay? And so Mark, on 3. Is that all right? Mark? Mark? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Smith. On 3. 1, 2, 3. That's actually happening in my hand. This is happening in my hand. A GTX 1080 with Max-Q design. And we're looking at a gaming PC that has 60% more performance than the maximum performance PlayStation 4 Pro. And it comes with a beautiful display. The video game that you were seeing just now has never been seen before. Which should I do? Thanks. I'm going to tell you how I did it in just a second, but before that, I just want to thank the Slightly Mad, the name of the studio, Slightly Mad Studio, who creates Project Cars. They did such a great job, and their publisher, both of them just great friends of ours, Bandai Namco, who allowed us to show this to you for the first time. This video game hasn't been launched yet. It'll be launched at the end of the year. The thing that's really amazing is this is actually a car simulator. It supports a maximum resolution of 12,000 pixels, basically 3 4K displays. Everything that you see is photorealistic, as you can see. But the thing that's amazing is this: it has 180 cars that's modeled accurately. They model 60 tracks. You're looking at Pebble Beach Grand Prix, and is it Pebble Beach? Long Beach. Okay, Long Beach Grand Prix. The thing that's really amazing is this. They scan this entire racetrack with lasers. And they use a technology called photogrammetry. 1 millimeter at a time, they reproduced this racetrack. Excuse me. I just don't want to trip. 1 millimeter at a time, this racetrack was reconstructed. And so as a result, the asphalt's beautiful, all of the fences are beautiful. Look at just the entire racetrack is real. It has weather simulation. It has racetrack simulation. So if there's rain and the rain were to pool on top of the racetrack, when the cars drive over it, it would skid. All of that is simulated physically. It's really just a beautiful thing. What a great game. Thanks a lot, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, Project Cars 2. So let me tell you how we did it. The first thing that we did, it took a combination of basically 4 techniques. to make Max-Q possible. Max-Q basically stands for this. We are maximizing performance at the maximum efficiency point. That's why it's called Max-Q. Instead of max performance or max battery life, you could say that's Max B or Max P. Instead of max performance or max battery life, we're maximizing performance at the maximum energy efficient point. That's why we call it Max-Q. Now, it takes several different really complicated engineering work to do, and we worked incredibly hard and integrated with all of our system partners here in Taiwan, our software teams, all of the teams working with our content developers, and our GPU, of course. The first thing that we have to do is we have to tune our GPU for that Max-Q state, where the maximum energy efficiency and maximum performance. The second thing we have to do is like we do with Formula F1 race cars. The F1 race cars has an enormous number of software settings that allows the car to maximally perform in different conditions. We're doing basically the same thing here. For every single game, every single computer, we tune every last little setting that we can, and we optimize it for maximum performance at the maximum efficiency state. The third thing we do is we simply spare no expenses when it comes down to two very important areas. Thermal management has to use the best technology, the most exquisite engineering, tuned for the maximum performance at the maximum energy efficiency state. And then lastly, this low voltage regulator, optimized at 1 volt, it has to be able to sustain this computer with wasting absolutely no energy whatsoever, as little as we can, using the best circuitry and the best design techniques. The combination of all of this, and then working closely with all of our system OEMs, delivers the Max-Q. And the result is simply incredible. We're able to now deliver the most advanced game console in the world effectively in a notebook environment that is 15 millimeters thick, one third the thickness of previous high-performance notebooks, half the weight, from 10 pounds to 5 pounds, and 3 times the performance. Ladies and gentlemen, GeForce GTX Max-Q. The most powerful force in technology that any of us has ever witnessed was recently made possible by a breakthrough called deep learning. As I mentioned earlier, deep learning is a result of a neural network approach, an algorithm called stochastic gradient descent, backpropagation, combined with an enormous amount of data that we now have available, but made possible because of the GPU's computational capability. It ignited what people call the modern AI era. Now, this approach of software is actually really interesting. No longer do software developers write software. This is software that's learning to write software by itself. This is algorithm writing algorithms. This is computers learning to program by itself. A field called deep learning is part of machine learning, which is part of AI. And AI is what we're enjoying today. Now, the interesting thing about AI is we can almost teach it to do almost anything. And there are several different breakthroughs that you've seen. I'll just give you just a few examples here. The list of breakthroughs is just immeasurable. Every single day, it seems like a new breakthrough in AI has emerged. Several different examples that I'm going to show you. The first one is self-driving cars. This is basically using a network called a convolution neural net. This is Nvidia's BB-8, our artificial intelligence self-driving car. And what it's learned to do through data, it's learned how to recognize the volume around the car. It's learned how to recognize lanes. It's learned how to recognize the places that are safe to drive. It learned it by itself. We gave it a generic algorithm And through an enormous amount of teaching, training, it was able to discover these things. This is OK Google. Just by giving it data, it uses a technique called recurrent neural net with long and short-term memory, LSTM. That network allowed the OK Google to learn speech from sound. It's simply sound from your speaker. You say, OK Google, you start talking to it in Chinese. You say, 谁是有最好吃的牛肉面, for example. Okay? Somehow it knows what I meant. Somehow it knows what I meant. And even though I said it so poorly, it still could recognize it. And the reason for that is because the network has been trained with so much additional diversity by so many different people. It has heard so many people ask similar things that it's now able to recognize what I meant. Recently, AlphaGo, I think it was just last week, the second generation of AlphaGo beat the world's #1 Go player. And what's amazing is it uses a technology that is basically CNN, convolution neural networks, just like in self-driving cars, with an additional method called reinforcement learning. Basically, AlphaGo would compete against itself repeatedly. It would play itself over and over and over and over again, playing millions and millions of games until it became a supremely good player. So reinforcement learning, recurrent neural nets, convolutional neural nets, each one of these architectures of basically the same algorithm called deep learning has achieved results that people think until just recently would have been science fiction. Well, when you think about the potential of this technology, when you think about the potential to the computer industry, now we can finally recognize knowledge, learn knowledge from raw information. We can learn knowledge from raw information. It could be raw sound, it could be raw signals of heartbeats, it could be blood pressure information, it could be barometric information, air pressure, humidity information, temperature information, vibration information. We could learn all kinds of interesting patterns and recognize insight from that. So the question is, what can we do with that? Well, the performance of these networks is really quite extraordinary. And this is the reason why GPUs came along and changed everything. This is Microsoft's ResNet. It's a very deep network. They call it a residual net. It's a very, very deep network. And in 2015, Microsoft was able to achieve superhuman levels in image recognition. ResNet requires 7 exaflops to compute, 7 exaflops to train. 7 exaflops basically is 7 billion flops. 7 billion flops. It's a very, very large number. For example, as I said earlier, the entire world's cloud computers, every single internet service provider on the planet, if they were to take all of their computers and put them all together, it would still take, it would be 20 exaflops. It would take half a second to train this network, every single computer on Earth. So you could just imagine how much computing is necessary. And yet, 1 year later, Baidu's Deep Speech 2 voice recognition system consumed 20 exaflops, 20 billion floating point operations per second. And then recently, Google's natural machine translation, neural machine translation neural network consumed 105 exaflops, 105 billion operations. Basically, it would take 5 seconds for all of the world's cloud computers working together. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000 to process this network. Every single computer working together. So obviously, we need a lot more computation. So Nvidia's strategy is this. Our strategy is to enable and power this artificial intelligence revolution from end to end. On the one hand, AI in the cloud. On the other hand, AI at the edge. Our strategy has several elements. The first element is we have to create the fastest possible computers. The computers we have today are incredibly fast, but they're nowhere near fast enough to enable the type of artificial intelligence we would like to see someday. The second, of course, is developing the systems. It's not just a chip problem, it's a high-performance computing problem. And so the systems itself is enormously complex. Working with all the partners here in Asia, in Taiwan, we're going to create computing systems that we can standardize all over the world. We integrate, then we create a software stack of machine learning algorithms. These are libraries, these are frameworks, integrated into every single framework in the world. These frameworks are basically tools, they're operating systems, they're, if you will, the programming environment of artificial intelligence networks. We integrate them into every single computer system in the world, and we put them into every single cloud. So the Nvidia architecture today is the only architecture, aside from the x86, the Nvidia CUDA architecture is the only computing architecture that has been standardized in literally every computer company and every single cloud in the world. And so as a result of this capability, the Nvidia GPU architecture is accessible to any AI researcher. It doesn't matter where you are, what country you work in, you're from, what university, what company, what field of work, it doesn't matter. We have every form of computing, from small PCs to data center servers, to supercomputers, to cloud computers that you can access anywhere on the planet. We also want to take AI all the way out to the edge. Now that we have this ability for machines to learn to recognize its environment, we can now apply AI at the edge to solve some really interesting problems, and I'm going to talk to you about that. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to build an embedded, a tiny little embedded computer. And I'll come back to that. A tiny little embedded computer. On top of that is exactly the same software architecture that you have in the cloud. Whatever is trained in the cloud can now run at the edge. And we apply our own technology to solve a couple of very difficult problems. One of them I showed you an example of is the autonomous vehicle, and then the other is something I want to talk to you about today, which is to enable the robotics revolution, something that I'm super excited about. Well, at the core of this entire strategy starts with the processor, the GPU. Several weeks ago at GTC, we announced our next generation GPU. It's called Volta, the new Tesla V100. Volta is an extraordinary technology undertaking. $3 billion R&D investment to create the processor, the software stack, the system, and all the tools on top of it. $3 billion. It's made here in Taiwan. Our collaboration with TSMC, based on TSMC's 12-nanometer FinFET, the collaboration we have with TSMC, I want to thank all of their engineers for such incredible work. It's really important to recognize that this chip, this GPU, is the largest processor the world has ever made. It is at the reticle limits of modern photolithography. You cannot make a chip any bigger. And then on top of that, we stacked multiple chips on top of each other using a TSMC process called CoWoS. So TSMC's 12-nanometer process, the CoWoS chip stacking technology, all integrated together, the world's largest single chip called the Tesla V100. 21 billion transistors, 5,000 CUDA cores, all came together to deliver 120 teraflops on one chip. 120 teraflops on one chip. Just to put that in perspective, that's like 250 CPUs. That's like 250 multi-core CPUs on one chip. Okay, it's just an extraordinary number of processors all packed together into one chip. So ladies and gentlemen, this is our next generation GPU called Volta. One of the most important innovations in Volta is we wanted to create a giant leap in GPU advance, but we also would like Volta to be the world's best TPU. Tensor operations is becoming more and more important. And so we wanted Volta to simultaneously be the most advanced GPU as well as the most advanced TPU. And so we introduced a brand new instruction. It's called the Tensor Core. New numerical formats and new instruction in CUDA. Every single generation, this is one of the really exciting things about CUDA. We can add more and more and more functions and features and instructions to CUDA, unlike a CPU which has a rather limited instruction set. And the reason why it's limited is because in our particular case, the way that CUDA was architected made it possible for us to continue to extend it. And we're now literally on CUDA 9. And so every single generation we can add more numerics, we can add more instructions, and continue to extend this modern computing instruction set, this modern computing architecture. This new CUDA Tensor Core, has a tensor operation instruction, and it has a new numerics format. And it allows us to basically do one of the primitive and most important elemental instructions of deep learning, which is basically linear algebra. TensorOp allows us to take a 4x4 matrix, multiplied by another 4x4 matrix, and add a 4x4 matrix all at one time. All at one time. And so the way you think about linear algebra, the two 4x4 matrices, each one of the columns has to be multiplied by the row, and you add all those numbers together. Okay, so 4 multiplies and 4 additions results in one new element into the matrix. And then after that, you do another 4x4 addition. That combination is all done at exactly the same time. And we also have the ability to mix precisions. So the A times B, the A, for example, could be an activation, the B could be a weight, and the C could be a stochastic gradient descent, okay, for the back propagation. This is done in FP16, B is done in FP16, and we add FP32. As a result of that, we can achieve simultaneously very high performance and very high precision. That's one of the great breakthroughs of the Volta Tensor Core. Let me show you how we did it on Pascal. And so you could, as I was describing earlier, the green is one 4x4 matrix, the purple is another 4x4 matrix. We're going to multiply those two 4x4 matrix, and it's going to create one result at a time that we're going to add into the final result. Okay? And so the way we solve that is literally one row and one column at a time, one row and one column at a time, and then we add it all together. The way that we do it in Volta is a little bit faster. This is the way we do it in Volta. And this is in one CUDA core. We do this 5,120 other times. And so the challenge is this. When you think about 120 teraflops, the question is, how do you keep the data moving through the processors? The memory hierarchy, the memory throughput, all of the thread parallelism that we have to sustain is at a level that the world has never seen before. The amount of energy efficiency techniques that we have to bring to bear so that we can keep the power very, very efficient is like nothing's ever been done before. And so as a result, the Tensor Core operation is able to achieve 12 times what Pascal was able to achieve in the past. So ladies and gentlemen, Volta with the new Tensor Core. That's just the first part. In order to create a high-performance computer for deep learning, you need to start with an excellent processor. But that's just the beginning. The next part of it is to create the system itself. We've integrated 8 Volta processors into a very dense server. This dense server is designed for hyperscale. And this dense server is designed to fit into hyperscale data centers and have the ability to have configuration at runtime, so that I can configure different number of CPUs with different number of GPUs. Each one of them optimized for different applications. This standardized chassis, the standardized server, GPU server, each one of the 8 Volta GPUs are interconnected by an interconnection link called NVLink. And it sits into a specialized socket, very high performance socket called the SXM. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is what a Volta looks like. 120 teraflops. 120 teraflops. $3 billion of R&D later. This is what you get. See, TSMC, when they invest $3 billion, they get a huge fab. We're done with $3 billion, this is what you get. Several thousand engineers, about 5,000 engineers work together over the course of about 3 years. And this is the Volta GPU. The back of it is a special connector, very high-speed connector called SXM. And this module connects right into a HGX, the system, the motherboard system that you see there. And they're interconnected using NVLink. Every GPU is connected to another GPU using a high-speed link. And that high-speed link allows all 8 GPUs to communicate with all 8 GPUs, all of the other 8 GPUs at the same time in a configuration called the hybrid queue. Okay. This architecture was co-developed between us and Microsoft. And we're now evangelizing its support for people to adopt in hyperscale. It's completely open source. And so if you're building a data center, you don't have to go through the cost and the engineering effort of creating this brand new supercomputer. You can just use an open source design. We've open sourced the design and we've partnered with the world's leading manufacturers of servers here in Taiwan. Now, when this is done, this particular server has the ability to run basically every single software stack that Nvidia provides. Deep learning stack, high performance computing stack, molecular dynamics code, seismic processing code, medical imaging code, anything that we've had optimized and ported to CUDA. Some 450 applications in just about every supercomputing center, every single cloud computing center has been ported to CUDA. And so this particular server has been optimized for all of that. Together, nearly 1 petaflops of computing. And the last time, well, it has never been said before that a single computer node would achieve a petaflops of computing performance. It has never been achieved before. This would take something along the lines of about 100 servers to achieve in the past. And now, with Volta, Tesla V100, and the HGX server, we could achieve 1 petaflops of computing performance in one single node. Isn't that amazing? Pretty fantastic, right? Okay, so that's Volta with HGX. And so today we're announcing that this architecture, this entire platform, Volta, NVLink, the SXM modules, and an HGX hybrid cube mesh approach in this architecture called HGX has been adopted by the 4 leading server manufacturers in Taiwan. I want to thank all of them for supporting this architecture, and together we're going to take this architecture into hyperscale data centers all over the world. They're clamoring for this level of performance. Deep learning is this killer app, and so partnering with Foxconn and Inventec and Quanta and Wistron, and with all of their great support, we're going to be able to take this architecture literally everywhere. Now, it's really important to realize that the last time that Microsoft partnered with somebody to create a standard chassis, it was the ATX motherboard. And it revolutionized the PC industry. It allowed all of us to focus on one basic chassis and continue to innovate on that chassis, driving its performance up, adding more features, driving the cost down, expanding it all over the world, standardized on these sockets and connectors. It made it possible for the PC revolution to happen. And so I'm super excited to partner with Microsoft and all of Taiwan to take this architecture called the HGX, instead of the ATX, it's now called the HGX architecture, into the hybrid cloud world with deep learning. So ladies and gentlemen, please thank all of our partners together for processor, systems, standards, and the next thing we need on top of that, of course, is software. Well, the deep learning software stack is complicated. It looks something like this. This is a really simplified version. You have a system with a GPU inside. It runs an operating system, Linux. It has to be a really well-built version of Linux. And the reason for that is because high-performance computing, the application runs across thousands of processors for a long period of time. And so the Linux operating system has to be well-built. On top of that is all the system software, device drivers for everything. But of course, one of the most important pieces of software is the CUDA drivers. And on top of that is all the deep learning libraries we've built on top of CUDA. So whether it's cuDNN or TensorRT or the multi-GPU coordination system called NCCL, all of that middleware and software and libraries, numerics libraries, are built on top of CUDA or beside CUDA. And then on top of that are all the frameworks. These frameworks are large bodies of code. TensorFlow is a very, very large application. Caffe is a large application. Torch is a large application. Theano is a large application. Each one of these frameworks are basically programming tools for deep learning. They're vitally important. Its performance is incredibly important. The difference between high performance and low performance could be measured in days of completion. So instead of being able to complete your work in one day, your neural net training in one day, it may take you several weeks. And so the difference in performance affects productivity directly. And it's just way too important for us not to optimize it closely. And so this entire software stack has to be repeated for every single framework, for every single GPU, for every system configuration with that GPU. The permutation is absolutely crazy. And so what we've done in our company is we've dedicated ourselves to staff up a large number of teams to become expert at each one of these frameworks and to literally optimize every single framework across every single GPU, across every single system configuration of that GPU, whether it's a PC, workstation, a server, or a cloud. Every single one of those permutations has to be integrated, optimized, tested, tuned, maintained, and continuously maintained and tested and tuned for as long as we shall live. That endeavor is enormous. Now the challenge, of course, is how do you then integrate all of this and deliver it to the world? And so we created something called the Envy Docker. If you've heard of Docker, it's basically a virtual environment that containerizes software. All of the essential pieces of the runtime has been containerized into one package. And that package is called the Envy Docker. We put these containers pre-tested for every single one of them into this thing called the Envy Docker. And so that's the first step. And then what we do is we put it in the cloud. There's a cloud registry. It's now called the Nvidia GPU Cloud. The Nvidia GPU Cloud does no computing whatsoever. It's simply a registry. It's simply a depository, a library of all of these containers. And there's a whole bunch of these containers. These containers are one for every framework, for every different GPU, etc., etc. Okay? And so all of these containers are all located up in the cloud. And the thing that we can do is this. Once you register yourself, you type in what you register into this cloud, then the next thing it does is simply downloads this container into your computer. This container now is optimized for your computer and it just works perfectly. So let's use, for example, somebody who would like to do deep learning on a PC. You log into the Nvidia GPU Cloud, you download the framework of your choice, It comes down in a container. It runs on your PC. However, if you would like, at some point, because your training session has now become so large, and you're ready to train this network up in the cloud, or in the data center in the supercomputer, you can now take this and burst it into one of these other environments. All you have to do is simply redirect that software package, that container, into the cloud, into the data center, into a supercomputer, and now you can burst your work into that other computing platform. Incredibly simple. Incredibly simple. Always works, perfectly tuned and optimized, and you can enjoy it literally anywhere. This software environment, on top of the HGX server, on top of all of our GPUs, creates literally a fully integrated environment for deep learning. And we can now put this environment anywhere on the planet, in every single cloud, in every single data center, in front of every single researcher. Okay. So the Nvidia GPU Cloud. Let's talk about robots. The robot is arguably the ultimate AI. A robot is complicated. It has to sense the world. See, hear, smell, touch, sense the world. It has to reason about what it sensed. Create a model of the world, reason about what it should do, and plan the necessary action if there is one. And then it has to act. And it has to act in a way that is, of course, does no harm. So if it's to reach out and pick up this bottle, it has to be smart enough to know where is that bottle, what is the material of the bottle. It could be based on plastic, the bottle could be glass, and so you have to be careful how you pick it up. And the bottle shape is different every time, so my finger has to approach it differently every single time. A robot has to achieve these things. The robot achieving and interacting with the world is so complicated, no human can possibly program all of this. And that's why today there are no robots that interact among us. We simply don't know how to program these robots. Well, finally, with deep learning, we might have the necessary technology and tools to do so. And so our first application is to create the computer as I mentioned before. Develop the operating system on top of it. Create all the libraries necessary for deep learning. And then develop the AI algorithms necessary for the robotics revolution. We applied it to one of the most important robots in the world, the automobile. By automating transportation, by automating mobility, we have the ability, of course, to make a real impact on the future of society. There will be a lot less deaths on the road because cars will make fewer mistakes. It's never sleepy, it's never intoxicated, it's always paying attention. Of course, cars get parked further away, and so our cities don't have to be filled with parking lots. We have the ability to transport goods at a much more efficient way. And so there's just so many different benefits that we can enjoy with autonomous vehicles. And so we started by working on the first robot ourselves, and we call it BB-8. So let's take a look at the video.
Good vibes only. I just finished my check. I ain't paying rent.
made it possible. There were no software programming. It's simply an artificial intelligence network learning how to recognize the world, reason about what to do, and then driving the car. Just absolutely amazing what artificial intelligence can do. This is based on our Drive PX platform and all the software on top of it. We're working with startup companies all over the world. Car companies, taxi companies, trucking companies, shuttle companies, all kinds of mobility companies. In the next 10 years, we're going to absolutely see a revolution in transportation like we've never seen before. Several weeks ago, we announced that the world's largest car company, Toyota, has adopted the Nvidia Drive PX and is going to be partnering with us to create their future autonomous vehicles. And so this is just really, really exciting. This isn't just for startups anymore. Companies large and small now recognize the importance of autonomous vehicles. Well, autonomous vehicles is just the beginning. If we could solve this technology for self-driving cars, it's the beginning of the road to solving it for all kinds of autonomous machines. Whether it's robotics, only 10% of our manufacturing is done by robots today because it's simply, the rest of the tasks are simply too meticulous, too articulated in order for a robot to do. We just don't know how to program it. And so if we could have the robot learn how to do these tasks by themselves, maybe we can create products and things that are simply too large to create, or too small to create, or quite frankly, create it at a level of speed and velocity that no humans can sustain. And so whether it's in manufacturing or delivery robots, you guys know that the Amazon effect is literally everywhere. You can now order and send bits to the cloud, but the cloud can't send atoms back to your phone. You can send bits up to the cloud, but the atoms, the physical things, has to be delivered to you through somebody. And one of the things, of course, we could use autonomous drones or delivery vehicles to bring it to you. Agriculture. The ability for us to be smart about which one of the plants and vegetables needs fertilizers or insecticides. We can now use artificial intelligence to figure out exactly which ones to take care of. The number of surgeries. Most of the surgeries are simply too delicate for humans to do. We could have tiny, tiny little scalpels, little tiny robots that are able to perform surgery that are a lot less invasive. Hundreds of millions of surgeries are done each year. And so robotics technology is going to revolutionize society. The question, the fundamental problem though, is how do we teach a robot? How do we teach a robot? In the case of a car, the way we teach the car is simply this. Get from point A to point B, but don't hit anything. That's it. The equation is simple. Get from point A to point B, avoid collisions. However, a robot is all about collision. Everything's a collision. Everything's a collision. So how do we teach a robot? How do we teach a robot? Well, finally, several breakthroughs. We talked earlier about convolution neural nets so that a robot can sense its environment. But we now also have reinforcement learning and imitation learning techniques where a robot could imitate how we do things. And then, through reinforcement learning, learn the rest of the way as it becomes diversified in what it picks up. One day it's picking up a clicker, another day it's picking up a bottle, another day it's picking up a hammer or a screwdriver. It doesn't really matter. Once it learns at one time, it could use reinforcement learning to learn it the rest of the time, just like we do. However, we simply can't allow this robot to do this in the physical world. You know that in the beginning of the conversation today, I described something called the holodeck. The holodeck is where future robots will be created. A holodeck is where we will raise and teach and allow these robots to learn. And so what we've done is this. We created what we call the Isaac Initiative. The Isaac Initiative. Isaac is named after someone very famous, Isaac Asimov, a futurist, someone who had thought about how robots would be created and its impact on society. So we called it the Isaac Initiative. It's a robotics platform. It has 4 components. The first component is, of course, the processor, the Jetson TX2. The second component is a software stack that allows it to perceive and localize and plan and take action. The third is a simulator we call Isaac's Lab. Isaac's Lab is basically a holodeck, but this lab is quite special, and I'll show it to you. And then lastly, there are all kinds of robots that are going to emerge. Some of the robots have hands. Some of the robots have wheels. Some of the robots have wings. Some of the robots have propellers. Some of the robots fly, and some of the robots swim. We're going to have all kinds of robots. And so, reference platforms. These 4 initiatives, these 4 elements of the Isaac Initiative, we hope will help to inspire and ignite a robotics revolution. Let me first start by telling you about Jetson. Jetson is an embedded AI supercomputer. In just a few watts, it's able to process parallel computing applications, algorithms, and deep learning algorithms. Approximately 1 teraflops of computation in this little tiny module. This is Jetson. This one little tiny computer. Okay? So if you would like to build a self-driving delivery vehicle or a drone or a manufacturing robot, all you need is one little Jetson computer. This Jetson computer was designed to run all of the deep learning algorithms. Second, we need a software stack that makes it easy for you to train robots. I'm going to show you a robot that we trained. This robot had no software programming. We simply gave it Jetson, cameras, and we taught this robot, this flying robot, where to go. How to walk. We showed it, this is the way you go through the forest. This is an example of a path that we would like you to follow. Okay? And so just by following us, imitating us, this robot is going to be able to perform what I'm going to show you. And what you're going to see is this. The red are areas that the robot has decided it should not go. And the green are areas that the robot has decided it is okay to go. Okay, so when you see the red and green, that's what it stands for. Play it, please. will run the software stack that will run on Jetson exactly as it was. Exactly as it is. And that software is basically the brain of the robot. And that brain of the robot will have an algorithm that is injected through the OpenAI Gym. So reinforcement learning comes in through here. It runs on the virtual Jetson above. The robot definition, its arms, its physical characteristics, the actuators and the effectors, the cameras, all the sensors, are all inputted using a standard robotics input format. The entire environment is designed. You can import the entire office, the entire city. You can import whatever you like to import into this world that you would like the robot to grow up in. Okay? Whatever environment you would like the robot to grow up in, you can import it into this environment. And all of this is running on our GPUs, and so it would be incredibly fast. But the reason why you need it to be fast is this. You want it to look like the real world, you want it to behave like the real world, but you don't want time. You don't want it to behave and limited by time. You want super real time, so that your robot can learn through repetition as fast as possible. Okay? So this is the Isaac Robot Simulator. Let's show it to him. Titus, if we can just change. Titus, are you there? Okay. All right. So this is the robot simulating environment. And what we've done here is we imported a little tiny hockey rink. Something simple. The puck is simulated. The ice is simulated. The net is simulated. Okay? And so if I could just notice, first of all, do you see Isaac? Isaac, can we go into full screen mode maybe? So this is Isaac learning. And notice in this virtual world, Isaac doesn't have to be just one robot. The way we do it is this. We replicate Isaac a whole bunch of times. And we let them all learn randomly. It's literally learning randomly. And once it starts randomly learning, it gets positive feedback every time it does something good. It gets negative feedback when it does something not as good. Okay? And so all of these robots are learning at the same time. We stop after a while. We take the smartest robot's brain and we replicate it everywhere. And then we can continue. Does that make sense? Okay? We train for a while, we take the smartest student, we give every student the same brain, and then from there, we continue. Imagine if we could teach children like this. This is incredible, right? So notice some of them are doing a pretty good job, some of them are not doing a very good job. Okay, so this is Isaac learning. Now this is, of course, just hockey. We could let Isaac learn almost anything. We also let Isaac learn how to golf. Titus, can we go to golf? In this particular environment, of course, the grass has to be simulated. The physics of the ball. Now, remember, we didn't show you the beginning of the simulation, but in the beginning, Isaac doesn't even know how to pick up the golf club. It doesn't even know which side of the golf club to use. But because it repeated it so many times, it eventually figured out that the best way to hold a golf club is with the putter on the bottom. Okay. Isn't this amazing? And it just figured out where to hold this through just... All right. Is it going to go in? Is it going to go in? Go. Go. Isaac, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah. Good job. Next year we'll send, thank you, Titus. Next year we'll send Isaac to the Masters. And then lastly, all the reference platforms. Remember what a robot is. A robot has basically three fundamental things. It has to have sensors, it has to reason, It has to have artificial intelligence. It has to understand what it sensed, create a world model, and reason about what to do. Artificial intelligence. And the third is applied motor skills. Applying motor skills is also an artificial intelligence problem. Sensing is an artificial intelligence problem. Reasoning is an artificial intelligence problem. We now finally, for the very first time in computing history, have within our hands the three fundamental capabilities necessary for robotics to happen. And of course, we also know that sensors are proliferating like crazy, and we now have all of the necessary capabilities to do so. Each one of these different robots have different sensor suites and different actuators. Some of the sensors are cameras, some of the sensors are LiDAR, some of the sensors are stereo cameras, some of them are infrared. Okay, it doesn't really matter what kind of sensors you have. The reasoning is done on Jetson TX2, and the actuators, some of them are wheels and some of them are propellers. And so this is basically how it works. We created a processor, the most powerful processor the world has ever seen, Volta. We integrated into a system, the highest performance computing system the world has ever built with our partners. It's called HGX. A software stack on top called the Nvidia GPU Cloud has all of the operating systems and all the frameworks and tools necessary to train networks. It creates a network, and we have a tool, an optimizing compiler called TensorRT. The Nvidia TensorRT takes a network that has been trained and optimizes it for Jetson or optimizes it for a local computing platform. That trained network is then downloaded onto Jetson, and as a result, you have artificial intelligence at the edge. AI in the cloud, AI at the edge. Okay? So Nvidia powering the AI revolution. Today, I think it's very clear that the industry is really changing in pretty dramatic ways. We talked about the two fundamental forces that are affecting the future of computing. The first is the end of Moore's Law, the end of Dennard Scaling, the end of our ability to find instruction-level parallelism in microprocessors. And as a result, GPU-accelerated computing gave us life after Moore's Law and continues to extend that curve as we get more and more transistors from semiconductor physics. We can now put those transistors to good use and continue to extend performance. GPU-accelerated computing came at exactly the right time, because at the same time, the breakthrough of deep learning and the breakthrough of the abundance of data called big data has made it possible for us to finally start the AI revolution. And the potential of this computing model, AI computing, is really quite staggering. At Computex this year, we announced three things. The driver that made it possible for all of this innovation to happen, PC gaming, is vibrant and rich and growing. And we introduced a brand new platform called the GeForce GTX Max-Q design. We made it possible for us to now have essentially the most advanced and most powerful game console in literally something you can hold in your hand. So thin, so sleek, so beautiful, and so powerful. We announced the standard platform called HGX, Hyperscale GPU Accelerator, and all of our partners that help us make this possible, and that we will now standardize across hyperscalers all over the world. And then lastly, the Isaac initiative, which has 4 elements. An element which is the processor, Jetson TX2, the software stack for deep learning, a simulator we called Isaac's Lab, and then lastly, all of our partners, TIO and En-route and Toyota, who are making all of these different reference platforms of robotics possible. All you have to do is plug Jetson in, download the software, train it to do something smart, and you have a robot in your hands. The time for GPU computing has come. I want to thank all of you for coming today. Have a great Computex.